Well, hello, RCC. Pastor Steve here. I have some announcements that I wanted to give, and I didn't want to do it through like a Facebook update or text and an email or something. I wanted you to see my face as I talk about this. So, there's all kinds of different things happening right now in the world, in our state, in our area, and in our families. There's a lot of things going on. But one of the things that kind of kicked off this year was the COVID-19 pandemic. I mean, it hit our country, it hit our state, it came in like a tidal wave, it washed out anything and everything that we knew. And people started getting sick, people started dying. Some of those numbers were a little exaggerated, and we've learned and we've grown and we've understood things a little bit better these days than we did at the very beginning. And with the way the government's trying to work, I personally think some of the mandates just don't make sense. But that's besides the point, because they are what they are and we have to respond to them accordingly. So it's like, everything got shut down. Kids came home from school. Certain people weren't able to go into work anymore. And we had to exist. We had to keep moving forward. And so we went online virtually because we quit meeting face to face as a church. There were a lot of things that went into that. And one of them was that we rent a building. We don't own a building. So to a certain degree, we can't control what we would like to do all the time. We have to work with others, which is good. That's a good thing. It's not a bad thing. It helps us remember that we are not an island unto ourselves, right? Like, we're part of a community and we have to exist within relationship with others. It's a good thing. As things open back up, Jen and I were able to open the business back up. We had to shut it down pretty much right away. That first week that the state went into a state of emergency, that Governor DeWine declared a state of emergency in the state of Ohio, we had to get shut down. State board closed us up. And we were out of work for 2 months. And you guys supported us. You gave, you loved us. You loved us with more than just your words. It was phenomenal. And thank you. Thank you for that. You helped feed my kids. You helped keep the lights on around here. It was beautiful. I don't know how to thank you enough for that. So you're probably going to hear me thank you for a while, and my wife, and it's not lost on us. But we made it through, and we opened back up, and we got back to work. Schools started talking about meeting again, going back into session in the fall. Churches started going back together, getting back together for services, and then upticks started happening all across the country. And not just a rise in infections, but a rise in hospitalizations. News Channel 4 just put a story out a couple of days ago, maybe last week, on their Facebook page or their news page. If you follow them on the app, that's where I saw Governor DeWine talking about it. It's not just infections, it's actual hospitalizations are up. New Orleans hospitalizations are up. Texas hospitalizations are up. There are pockets all around the country where hospitalization is up. It's not just asymptomatic people. It's sick people. Part of that uptick are church communities. So that's concerning. Locally here, we've already had one family that was exposed to COVID, came in very close contact with the possibility of being exposed. Luckily, they weren't. They were able to get through that. But as of yesterday, we have been exposed to COVID. My family, we are having to shut the studio down again for 14 days. That's state mandate. If we're exposed, doesn't matter if it's confirmed or not, we have to shut down. We are waiting to hear when we get to go in for testing to figure out what the next steps are. And so we are quarantined at this point, unlike anything we've been before. No one's allowed to come in, no one's allowed to go out. My point being, this thing is a whole lot closer than what we like to think. So all that to say, we're going to suspend meeting together through the rest of the summer. I don't like saying that. I want to get back together with everyone, but I think that it's irresponsible. I think that we would get together with good intentions, with hearts full of love for one another, and with souls full of faith. And we would still get sick. We could still be responsible for an outbreak. Some of us are fighting cancer. Some of us have, COPD. Some of us have a compromised immune system. Some of us have heart conditions. Some of us, there's a whole myriad of things that make us more susceptible to this virus. And part of being a pastor is thinking of what's best for all of us, not just what's good for me or what I want or even what some of us want. And sometimes even looking at what the majority says and then saying, yeah, we're still not doing it. We're still not going to do that, despite the majority of people wanting something. That's why a church isn't a democracy. I hope that everyone understands this isn't out of fear. You don't wear a seatbelt out of fear. You wear a seatbelt out of precaution. You don't wear a helmet in a hard hat area on a construction site out of fear. You wear it out of precaution. There are just some things that are smart to do. For a time and a season when you're in a certain area and in a certain environment. And this is one of those things. We have to figure out how to stay the church, even when we are not able to meet together. So we're going to suspend meeting through the summer. We'll reassess where we are in the fall. But this means a couple things, right? I mean, it means we're going to have to get better with interacting with one another virtually. Last Monday, I put up a poll asking when would be the best time for a Bible study, an interactive Zoom meeting Bible study where we can see each other, where we can talk. Hopefully it'll work out a whole lot better than the Facebook Live, YouTube Live. It's come out pretty much dead even, right down the middle. So I think we're just going to do two. I think we'll do one during the week and we'll do one on the weekend. That's the only thing I know to do to make this work for everyone. So pick one that you can attend and get in there. It means that we are going to have to take some personal responsibility to stay engaged with one another. One of the real facts about life right now is that we're not seeing one another because we don't live next to one another. Well, the majority of us don't live right next to one another. We don't live in the same communities. We don't work in the same places of business. There's no reason for us to interact with one another outside of gathering at the church house. So now that we can't do that, it's going to be really easy just to kind of be like, well, that phase of my life is over. But the truth is, we are a community of believers. We're not just an organization that isn't meeting anymore. We're more than an organization. We're the church, and we're the local body. So as we figure out how to band together and move forward, it's going to take intentionality on every single one of us. So, if you've ever had any questions about whether or not you're a member of RCC, this is the test. Our congregation's been so small, I've not seen the wisdom and being like, fill out this card, we'll put you in a book and you'll get a check mark next to your name and blah, 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 blah. Like, no, our congregation was so small that we should be able to interact with one another. We should know who each other is. We shouldn't have to go so far as a black and white ledger of names, or who's in a book and who's not in a book, and people who are in the book matter just a little bit more than the people who aren't in the book, and these people get to say about things that these people don't. So we haven't really needed that, I didn't think. Now you get to decide whether or not you're a member. Are you going to be committed? Or are you going to be engaged? This is the test. So will you show up? I hope you will. I miss you guys, and I know others miss you too. This also means that Satan's working overtime. You know, in my opinion, one of the goals of the enemy has been to divide, separate, and make us believe that we're just alone without one another and without the grace and compassion of God. And we have to remember that God works through us. We are the tools by which he accomplishes his means. When God wanted to populate the world, he chose humans. When God wanted to free his people out of bondage, he chose a man named Moses. When God wanted to relate to people as God, he came in the form of a man named Jesus. And when God established his church, he did it through people. People are the means by which God interacts with us. And so the idea that we can't gather together is problematic. That's hard. You know, we are a church, and this is what I love about RCC. We are a church of seekers, we're a church of questioners, and we're a church of faithful followers. I kind of take a little bit of pride in the idea that some people have openly said, I don't know if I'm a Christian. I want to be, but I don't know that I am. And other people have said, I've been following the Lord for years. I submit to him as king. He's my everything. I'm sold out. I love him. And then others are saying, I don't know. I don't know what I think, but I'm trying to figure it out. That makes me feel good as a person, because that tells me that I'm not backing away from the gospel and that I'm upholding the truth of Christ. That also tells me that I'm attracting people who are tempted by the sins of the world and the flesh of their heart to please only themselves, but understand there's something more. And they're trying to figure out how to walk away from that life and engage in this one. You know, it's a good testimony, I think, to the temperature of our church. And I don't want to lose that. It's going to be really easy to say this period of my life is over. It's going to be really easy to say I used to go to church and now I don't. It's going to be really easy to say I'll watch service on another day. Sunday's going to come and go and I'm not going to see it. It's going to be really easy to pull out. It's going to be really easy. It'll also be really easy to start watching services at another church. It's going to be really easy to start getting plugged in with another place. I can't say that I don't do that. I watch, you know, like 3 different churches a week. I love the gospel. I love talking about it. I love listening about it. I love engaging about it. I love hearing about it. I love everything about it. It's transformed my life. So why wouldn't I want to have the gospel as the center point of just about everything that I do? But this means we're just going to have to be that much more intentional about coming together when it's time to come together. So I hope that everyone understands I'm doing my best here. This decision wasn't come too lightly. I didn't come to it fast. I think I've come to it a little bit slower than some people would have liked. But I can promise you, I'm never ignoring the situations. I'm just trying to be responsible with them. So I love you guys. I hope that in the next week or two, when we set that finalized date on our first Zoom Bible study session, that you guys, it works out for you and we get to see you and hear from you and have a cup of coffee together and read scripture and pray, interacting with one another. Yeah, I guess that's it. I'm praying for you all. Please reach out and share your heart. Share with me. Tell me what you're going through. Tell me what your concerns are. Please don't feel like you have to carry all this on your own or that you are isolated. You're not isolated. You know, that's one of the good things about this happening today and this not happening to us during the time of Paul. You know, in the time of Paul, correspondence could take 6 months. For us, it's a few seconds. Write an email, write a text, make a phone call. It's real easy. We're all still right here. We're all right here. We haven't gone anywhere.